All right, hey Vikings fans, welcome into another episode of the Skol Hop. I'm Evan.
And I'm Austin.
We're just a couple of dudes from Iowa. We like drinking beer, talking about the Vikings.
Yeah, we do. And we got a fun one today.
Yeah, we do.
For episode 51, we have a beer by, I think it's just by Big Grove. It's in honor of RAGBRAI. And if you don't know, in Iowa, RAGBRAI is this big, is it a race?
I don't think it's necessarily a race. It's just a huge bike ride.
Yeah,
and that's what RAGBRAI stands for.
Yeah, across the whole state of
annual
Iowa.
Great bike ride across Iowa.
Yeah, all right. And apparently this year, which it just finished a few days ago, right,
Yep.
RAGBRAI? Apparently this year was the 51st RAGBRAI ever. So Big Grove brewed a RAGBRAI beer called Tailwind. It's a golden ale. It's the official beer of RAGBRAI. But it's also episode 51 for the Skol Hop, RAGBRAI 51, which we just really noticed that, a few minutes ago. But yeah, that's a fun little tie-in.
Yeah, so we're going to crack those open in just a second, but first we're going to give a shout out to Big Top Venture for sponsoring today's episode. They can get you the lowest rate possible on several all-inclusive resorts in Mexico or Jamaica. Big Top Ventures, step right up to your next big adventure, and you can email them here. We're going to have that down flashing at the bottom of the screen right now, and then of course we'll link to that in the description as well. But yeah, if you're looking to take a trip to Mexico or Jamaica, hit them up.
Yep, you need to do it, man. I'm going to keep saying it until you do it.
I'm working on it.
All right.
We need the Skol Hop to really, start bringing in the dough.
Yeah. We would take more than one sponsor. Hint to anybody out there that wants to be a part of the team here. All right. Let's try this Big Grove RAGBRAI Tailwind Golden Ale. It's got a bunch of names. I'm excited.
It also has the names of all of the major towns across the top, which I think is cool. So every year, if you're not from Iowa, you don't know what RAGBRAI is, you might think we're crazy. But every year, they take a different route from the west side of Iowa. So wow, that was a really good Austin pour there.
I was scared there for a second. I thought I might have to try to save the foam here.
All the bikers dip their back tires into the Missouri River on the west side of the state. Then they ride all the way across Iowa, and then they dip their front tires in the Mississippi River on our side of the state, the east side of the state. So, you can see kind of along the top of the can here while we wait for your foam to settle.
You need to let your beer breathe a little bit, all right? Not too much, but a little bit.
RAGBRAI this year went through Glenwood, Red Oak, Atlantic, Winterset, Knoxville, Ottumwa, Mount Pleasant, and ended in Burlington.
Yeah.
So that was the route this year for RAGBRAI. I've never done it. Have you?
No. All the respect in the world to the people that love to do it. I'm not a bike rider. That's not. I'll go to the after party event or whatever they have. But
if I do it some year, would you ride with me? Not ride your bike, but like drive with me and hit up each camp with me. Take a week off of work and we'll sit and drink beer every night. And
if we turn it into like a Skol Hop event,
I'll wear my Skol Hop shirt every day.
All right, maybe that's as far as I'll get for that.
Maybe not next year, but maybe like 2 years from now.
Sure. Maybe
right.
We'll forget about it by then. Right. So sure. All right, Skol.
All right, I like that. That's pretty good.
Oh yeah.
I'm going to read the can quick.
Yeah.
It says, Tailwind is a celebration of all things RAGBRAI and Big Grove. We brewed this crisp, refreshing golden ale for the oldest, largest, and longest recreational bicycle touring event in the world.
Yeah, and I mean, if you've ever had something called a golden ale, you know exactly how this tastes. It's delicious, light, refreshing. I feel like if I just got done riding across the state of Iowa and somebody handed me one of these, I'd be super pumped. Like, it's a good beer. It's a beer's beer.
Good stuff. Yeah. Yep. It's definitely light in character, and actually a little hazy, which I think is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Can't see all the way through it. But yeah, crisp, refreshing. Definitely feels nice after a nice bike ride or any sort of hard physical work.
Oh yeah. And what'd you say it was, like 4-something%?
4.5%.
Okay. Yeah. Solid. Yeah. Definitely crushable.
Yeah. So there you go. All right. We've got to talk about some early training camp news. It's been eventful.
We get to talk about some early training camp news.
We do. We get to. We have to. It's kind of a both and.
Yeah, that's true.
But it's been eventful. I mean, like, a lot of headlines already in Vikings training camp world.
Even today, there were a couple updates, today being the 29th of July. So, yeah, I mean, obviously the cornerback position, really the whole defensive back position has gotten a lot of attention recently, obviously with the tragic passing of Kyrie Jackson last month, really. Well, this month, I guess, still. But, yeah, that was a big thing that happened to the team, but way less importantly, it was a big thing that happened to the cornerback room, which also had a few injuries happen. We had a kid go down with an ACL tear. Which one? Who?
Mekhi Blackman.
Mekhi Blackman, second-round pick from last year, yeah. That's a big loss because he was... I mean, I don't know how good he was gonna be, but he was set up to have a big role in the defense.
Kind of rising. I think he was on the up and up for sure.
And then one of the bigger free agent signings, Shaquille Griffin. Man, I am just fumbling all these names right now. Shaquille Griffin. He's kind of been day to day with an injury. At this point, you never know. I'm always weary at this time of year when coaches are like, yeah, we'll see how it goes day to day, just because however many years ago Daniil Hunter had that quote unquote day to day injury and he never saw the field that year. So you just never know until you figure it out. So I don't know.
I think the defensive back position is definitely one to keep an eye on throughout the rest of training camp and into the preseason, because it is already thin, and you've got some guys that need to prove themselves. You got a Caleb Evans and Andrew Booth Jr., who were both on the team last year and could have flashed and didn't really. And so I think those two guys are guys that need to prove themselves through camp and through those preseason games. I would expect them to get some snaps in those preseason games. And, I mean, one or both of them could end up not making the final 53-man roster,
you can make an argument.
Shake out.
Yeah, you could make a definite argument on either of them, both of them not making the team based on ability. But they did sign a few guys in the last few days. Duke Shelley, he's back.
He's back.
I remember being a Duke Shelley fan. We witnessed one of his interceptions at the end of the year 2 years ago in Chicago. He's fun. He's a fun player. He flashed, and he's a fan favorite. But, I mean, if we're being realistic, I don't think we can count on him to be CB1, be an all-pro this year. Obviously, that'd be amazing, and I hope it happens, but there's a reason he was available. So we'll see how he does. They did also sign a couple other cornerbacks. Bobby McCain, who was a former Dolphin and I think Giant. He's got a little bit of Flores familiarity, but he's also got some position flexibility, which is interesting. He also hasn't really done a whole ton, so that's another wait and see how he does. I don't know. And the other guy that they signed, Jacoby Francis, I think he had spent a little bit of time with the Texans. He hasn't really done anything in the NFL. He's still young, but it's not like they went out and signed a big-name guy or traded for somebody, which that's what I'm wanting them to do.
Yeah, yep. And hopefully they do go out and sign somebody. I was just telling you before we started recording, our friend Dustin Baker wrote an article today, and he recommended Stephon Gilmore. I think that would be a good acquisition. He's bounced around a lot. He's never really stuck with one team. But
well, ever since, because what wasn't he? Where was he at forever? Was he a Patriot?
I think, yeah.
He had a good long run at the start of his career, but yeah, he's bounced around ever since, really.
He's older, but yeah, Buffalo actually.
Oh,
and
sure,
then, the Patriots for a while, and then the last 3 years he's been in Carolina, Indianapolis, and Dallas.
And, of course, he was a big part of this greatest comeback in NFL history.
Yeah.
Of course, he was a Colt at the time. But yeah, I mean, he'd at least be a name that people recognize and are like, okay, there's somebody.
But, I mean, you're looking at a, 5-time Pro Bowler, the Defensive Player of the Year in 2019, an All-Pro twice in his career. I mean, he comes with some accolade. Now, that's, several years in the rear view now, but I don't know. He's still got a reputation that he'd bring in, and he could be a Patrick Peterson. He could be a guy that comes in and he's a great locker room guy, and he's also pretty good on the field and just rallies the troops. And
yeah, and I mean, you use him as an example, but Patrick Peterson is out there as well still.
Yep.
There's some names out there, and there's probably even some like names that are currently on teams that we wouldn't necessarily think about that might be available via trade. I know the Vikings are kind of, they don't have the most robust trade assets in the next few years, so they'd have to get creative. But I mean, they could make a move. Things are always possible, and Kwesi seems like he's good at building a roster so far. So I wouldn't be shocked to see some kind of a like, whoa, trade or big signing or something like that. But so far, we haven't really seen anything.
Can we just talk really quick as a break from like just general training camp news? Could we just mention how amazing it's been that Kwesi has locked up so many of these guys on amazing contracts? Like, that's another big talker that we don't even have on our outline, but holy cow, like all of the drafted rookies are now under contract, and he got JJ on his long-term deal. I'm sorry, Justin Jefferson.
We just need to force ourselves to say Jets now.
Jets, Jettas, whatever. Yeah, he's locked up for a long-term deal. Christian Darrisaw, which was kind of surprising that it happened as soon as it did, but he's locked into a long-term deal now too. Like, Kwesi's just been making moves, and he's just been rifling those guys through his office and like, let's get this done. Let's put pen to paper and let's make it happen.
Yep. And now Kwesi naysayers will be the first to say, like, well, yeah, but, I mean, Spielman drafted Darrisaw, and Spielman drafted Justin Jefferson, and Kwesi's just making the right moves and signing the guys that are already drafted. It's not easy to come up with these deals. I mean, there's a reason Jefferson didn't get done until recently. I think because of the Jefferson deal, we were all kind of expecting, like, okay, Darrisaw, that'll be a next summer thing. He's under contract this season and the next season, so the Vikings are showing us what they normally do, so we won't see anything for Darrisaw until maybe next summer. But holy cow, like, I think everybody's happy that he's there for Darrisaw mostly.
Well, and the other interesting thing that's happened, we talked, I don't know, a long time ago, several episodes ago now, about how Justin Jefferson's contract will affect other receivers, and we thought, well, maybe he'll like sign his contract and then CD Lamb will eclipse him or someone else will eclipse him, and it hasn't really happened. And I think it's put other GMs and other receivers in a really tough spot. And you even have Brandon Ayuk in San Francisco who's saying, I want out because I think I deserve more than what you're paying. Even Deebo Samuel isn't locked in yet on a long term, as far as I know. So, like, I don't know. I think where Spielman was playing checkers, Kwesi's playing chess a little bit. He's aware of what's happening in the league and what the market is like. He's also aware of down the road, several years in advance. And that's not to say that Rick Spielman was a bad GM.
He did the job well for a lot of years, and a few times in his career, the Vikings had a chance to do the whole thing.
And I'm not trying to insult his intelligence necessarily, but I do think Kwesi's making some good moves, and I think we're going to see the benefits of that down the road. Some of those things, they're just not an immediate, like, you reap the benefits of a Justin Jefferson contract right now. You reap the benefits of that a few years down the road when hopefully you win a Super Bowl or something, right? And you're hopefully. Like, yeah, man, I'm glad we locked that guy up before he walked away and got way more money somewhere else, right? So
yeah, it is really nice because I think we can confidently say, like, I have confidence in Kwesi as a GM to make the moves and do the right things. And now we can actually point to things like Jefferson and like Darrisaw and kind of really the whole way this Kirk Cousins and Danielle Hunter situations kind of all played out. So far, before really any games have been played since all of those moves have been happening, so far it seems like they've been good moves. I was a Kirk Cousins guy. I'm still a fan of his. Little sour after the whole departure, but he's a athlete and he gets paid to do a job, and somebody else was willing to pay him more, and that's fine. He's a really good person. So. But you could argue the Jefferson deal, the Darrisaw deal, some of these draft picks, like, they might not have happened the same way if they had sold the farm to keep Cousins in Minnesota.
For sure.
And there's pros and cons to that hypothetical situation too. You never know. But so far, I'm happy. I just need them to make a move to get a good cornerback and solidify the defensive backfield.
Well, let's talk about another draft pick that the Vikings made, and it seems like he's kind of solidified his roster spot, and that's rookie kicker Will Reichard coming out of Alabama.
Yeah.
So they released John Parker Romo, who they signed pretty quickly after Greg Joseph was released or cut or traded. Or,
I mean, he was one of the first free agents the Vikings signed, was that kicker, John Parker Romo.
And I remember the big talker with him was, he came out of the UFL. He knows these new rules. Kwesi's, again, he's playing chess. He's ahead of everybody else. And now here we are at the end of July, and he's gone. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, and I don't have any opinion on John Parker Romo at all. He seemed like a good dude.
Yeah, for sure.
He'll probably latch on somewhere. But anytime you see a team devote draft capital towards a kicker or punter, a specialist like that, I mean, that Will Reichard probably would have had to have been awful to not win that competition, because getting drafted at all as a kicker kind of wins you that competition.
Sure.
Which, that's no secret. I'm sure the second John Parker Romo saw that draft pick come through, he was like, well, I'm going to battle for my life and then probably lose and hopefully put enough tape out there for somebody else. So, I mean, that's just the way it goes when you draft a kicker. Kind of the same with the punting situation right now, too, for the Vikings. I forget who the guy is that they got to bring in camp, but I know last season was not Wright's best year as a punter. And when that happens, especially when you're on a pedestal like that in a singular position, you're going to get some competition. So maybe you can look up really quick who
Seth Vernon is the other punter on the roster right now. So he's a rookie out of Portland State. Interestingly enough, he's actually older than Ryan Wright.
Interesting.
So he's 25 as a rookie.
So that'll be interesting to see how that plays out. It does seem like we have our kicker, hopefully for the foreseeable future. I know Dallas Turner, Will Reichard's college teammate, was pretty happy when he heard that they were going to be teammates in the pros. So we'll see. I guess he's been looking pretty good in camp. Just like JJ has been apparently looking pretty darn good in camp.
And by JJ, you mean JJ McCarthy.
The JJ at this point. I mean, we've got Jets or Jefferson, but I guess we have to make this switch to JJ being JJ McCarthy. I guess he's been looking good. I've heard wishy-washy reports on how Sam Darnold's looking. I guess he started off looking good, but even today, in the last couple of days, he's looking a little less great. I don't know. I'm excited to see how this position group plays out.
I mean, you always will see the videos that are this, of people at training camp, and they're like, oh my gosh, he just completed a pass and it was amazing. And okay, it's one play. All the buzz earlier this last week was Darnold dropping a dime to Justin Jefferson for a touchdown. Okay, that's cool. And then I think in the last couple of days, there was another one of JJ McCarthy dropping one to Jordan Addison for a nice little grab. Just kind of dropped him a dime out of nowhere. All of those things are great and wonderful, and they generate a lot of excitement, but the proof will be in the pudding, right?
Absolutely.
It will come down to who can win games for the Vikings. So I'm still, and I was actually texting with my brother-in-law, who's also a Vikings fan. I was texting with him a little bit ago today, just saying, what are your thoughts on the season? And he said, well, I think they go 1-3 or 1-4 in those first handful of games, and then they change QBs at the bye week. And I said, that's pretty much where I'm at. I think they win 2 of those 5 games.
Interesting.
And switch QBs at the bye week.
You just tipped your hand there, Ev, because we're gonna talk about the schedule the rest of the episode.
That's no secret though, because I've said that on air before.
Yeah.
But yes, I've held true to my prediction, and you'll see that here in a minute.
Yeah. Well, what do you say we dive into that?
Let's do it.
You ready?
Yeah.
All right, listeners, Evan's going to tell you how this whole next rest of the episode is going to go down.
Yeah, so we have the entire Vikings schedule, 18 weeks, 17 games with a bye week. It's all laid out in front of us right here, and we've both gone through and looked at the schedule, and we've picked games. We have not discussed this at all previously. And we've also had our wives pick each game, and we've had our kids pick each game. So you have 3 kids. You said you kind of did like a little pick by committee sort of thing.
Yeah.
One of your kids picked the Vikings to win every game.
Yeah, my 4-year-old wants ice cream every week, so he basically said the Vikings every week. So
I don't blame him. But anyways, I asked both of my girls to pick the games, and I went with the one that I liked the best.
Okay,
So
awesome.
I won't necessarily reveal who that is. The other thing...
Wait, the child you like the best or the schedule?
No, the schedule that I like the best. I love both of my kids.
Sure, yeah.
The other thing... So, 2 things. Sorry, really quick. We're going to flip a coin.
Yeah.
So we have a quarter here. It's a 1999 Pennsylvania state quarter. We really need to get our hands on a Minnesota or an Iowa coin.
Probably wouldn't be too difficult to figure out.
Anyways, we're going to flip a coin. Heads is a Vikings win. Tails is a Vikings loss. So we'll see what the coin predicts. And then we're going to have Austin share his pick, his wife's pick, and his kid's pick. And then I'll share my pick, my wife's pick, and my kid's pick. And the other thing we're going to do is we're going to reveal our lock to win and our lock to lose.
Yep.
So we did that last year as well. Each of us picked one game that we think for sure the Vikings will win this game, and one game for sure the Vikings will lose.
How did we do last year? Just really quick, I think that'd be fun to look at, not everything, but our locks.
So I actually went through and I did some calculating. You actually picked the best of everybody.
Of course.
You had an 82% success rate in your picks, so you did the best. I picked a 59%.
There you go.
And I was tied with your kids for that. We were tied for second. Your wife was third at 53%. My wife was fourth at 47%, and my kids were terrible at 29%.
Wow, they also hate the Vikings. So
I compared the actual result of each game to each of our picks.
Okay.
So you did pretty well.
Yeah. 82%. Do you have our locks in there?
Yeah. So you picked the lock to win was the Falcons. And they won that game.
They did.
Against all odds with Josh Dobbs flying into the end zone.
Obviously, I knew exactly how that game was going to go.
The Pastronaut. And then you also picked the Bears. It was week 12. The Bears at home as the lock to lose, and the Vikings did in fact lose that game.
Yeah,
12-10.
I'm sad to say I was right on that one. But
so I picked the Chiefs as my lock to lose.
Okay.
And they did in fact lose that game.
It was close though.
It was close. It was 27-20. Week 5 against the Chiefs at home against the Chiefs, and then you had your lock to lose as the Bears at home. I had the lock to win as the Bears at home. So I was 1 for 2 on the locks. You were 2 for 2.
Yeah.
On the locks. So nice job.
You know, a broken clock is right twice a day. So
you're always full of wisdom.
Yeah.
All right, so let's flip the coin first. Do you want to do the honors on the first game here? So week 1, the Vikings travel to the Meadowlands and play the Giants.
And the coin says
heads is a win.
Coin says the Vikings are going to beat the Giants.
All right, so we'll mark that down as a Vikings win.
All right. Me, I guess. I said that the Vikings would also beat the Giants.
Okay.
My wife said that they would beat the Giants, and my kids said they would beat the Giants.
Wow. A clean sweep.
Yep.
So I am, sorry, viewers, I am going through and updating our spreadsheet as we talk about these. So I'll try to do this quickly, but I want to make sure I record all of this accurately. All
Absolutely.
Right. So on my side of the deal here, I have the Vikings winning this game. Yes, I think they hit the road and they win. My wife has them losing the game.
Okay.
And my kids have them winning.
Okay.
So my wife is the only one that has the Vikings losing right now. Everybody else, your kids, my kids, both of our wives, and both of us, we've got the Vikings getting that win, getting that dub.
No offense to your wife. I really hope she's wrong.
I hope so too.
And you know what, Ev? I have this open, so as you make your picks, I will write yours down.
Sweet.
So we can be a little bit smoother on that, probably.
All right.
Week 2.
Week 2. I'll flip the coin for this one. We got the Vikings hosting the 49ers.
Correct.
And that's just a regular Sunday game, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Just a regular Sunday game.
Yeah, remember, they don't have too many non-noon games.
They've got like 2 or 3, I think.
Well, 1, if you count London. 2 on week 8.
Thursday night game and a Monday night game, I think.
Yep, and then on week 16 is a 3:05 game. Everything else is noon.
All right. So 49ers at home, regular Sunday game. The coin says heads. The Vikings win. So there you go.
All right. I said, and this is a lock,
Oh, boy.
I said the Vikings would lose that game.
Okay. So that is your lock to lose, huh?
My wife said they would lose, and my kids said they would lose.
Okay. All right. So I also think they will lose this game. I think the Niners are one of the better teams in the league right now. I don't see a scenario where an up-and-coming Vikings team gets the dub there.
They did it last year.
They did surprise the Niners last year. That was a fun game.
Yeah.
My wife has them losing as well. And my kids have them losing as well. So it's except for the coin, it is a wash.
Well, remember, the coin was very nice to us last year.
It was, yeah. What was the coin last year?
Coin had us going 12-5 last year.
Yeah,
Didn't get the first loss until week 6.
Yeah, the coin had a 5-game win streak and then another 4-game win streak before dropping a few games at the end of the season there.
All right, the coin for week 3, hosting the Texans. Coin says we're winning again there, Ev.
All right.
I also need to address this. I have said the word "we" a lot in the last minute or so. I'm not for that. I'm not on the team. The coin says the Vikings are going to win this one, Ev.
I think you said the same thing last year.
I know.
When we
I
recorded
keep doing it.
Same episode. I'm we because I'm a native Minnesotan, and it's just part of my heritage.
Yeah. Did you recharge your Minnesota batteries this past weekend?
I did. Yeah,
Nice.
I was able to go up to Minnesota. Had a nice little trip to the southwestern corner, Buffalo Ridge, as it's known.
Well, there you go. All right, we'll keep going with the Texans game.
Texans at home, week 3.
Yep, I said they would lose to the Texans.
Okay.
My wife said they would lose, and my kids said they would win.
Oh, okay. See, I started typing lose.
So far, me personally, I'm predicting the Vikings to start off 1-2
Okay.
in the first 3 weeks.
There you go. All right. I also have this as a loss for the Vikings. The Texans were a really, really good team last year. So, I don't think in the early part of the season the Vikings are going to be super strong.
Yeah, they are. I feel like they are 1 year ahead of the Vikings.
Yes.
In their development at this stage with the rookie quarterback, the defense. Yeah, I think they lose. But anyways, your wife?
My wife thinks they win.
Okay.
So my wife has a Vikings win against the Texans, and my kids say loss. The Vikings lose at home against the Texans.
So Evan, you and I are both saying they're going to start off 1-2.
Yep.
We have the same prediction so far.
Win, loss, loss. That's kind of where I'm at.
All right, week 4, Vikings are going to Green Bay. What's the coin say, Ev?
The coin says, please be a win. Please be a win. It's a win.
Wow, okay.
It is a win. So the coin has the Vikings going 4-0 to start the season. Wouldn't that be something?
That would be something.
All right, what do you got?
All right, I have that game at Green Bay. The Vikings are going to win.
Oh, okay.
My wife says another W.
Wow.
And my kids might need to sleep outside because they said they're going to lose.
You know that's the rule in my house. If they say anything about liking the Packers over the Vikings, they have to sleep outside. I think the Vikings lose against the Packers, so this is where you and I diverge a little bit.
All right.
At Green Bay, Jordan Love just signed that big contract.
I couldn't be happier about that, by the way.
My wife smartly said the Vikings will win.
Ah, there you go.
So I like that. But my kids, they like to give me a hard time about the Packers. They say loss.
Interesting.
So,
okay.
There you go.
All right, week 5. Vikings are going to London.
Yep. That'll be
to technically host the Jets. The Vikings are the home team in that game. So the coin says another win, and I wish we had a camera like above us to prove the coin, but
we are not making this up, folks. This is real.
For the second year in a row, the coin has predicted a 5-game win streak to start the season.
All right, what do you got?
All right, I said the Jets game is going to be a win.
Okay.
My wife said a win, and my kids also said a win. Clean sweep in my household.
I think this is also a win. My wife says it's a win, and my kids say it's a win. My kids and I actually have the same exact prediction so far.
Nice.
Win, 3 losses, and then a win.
Well, that's interesting. All right, bye week. They're going to lose for sure, right?
Well, only the Vikings could do that. We have a clean sweep of wins, though, in that Jets game. Yeah. And we have a really early bye week this year, which is kind of intriguing. It could be good. It could be bad. I don't know. It could kind of hurt the playoff hopes towards the back stretch of the season when injuries start to pile up and you don't have that extra week to recover.
Potentially.
But it could also, and this is my prediction, and I stand pat, I think they go 2-3 in those first 5 games, and Darnold struggles, and JJ McCarthy comes out in week 7 at home against the Lions. That's my prediction.
All right.
So,
and you can't argue with your prediction. I could see a world where that happens. I could also see a world where, I mean, realistically, I could see JJ not touching the field at all this season.
That's definitely a reality, too, for sure. But,
and I think that's the plan. But if he keeps throwing dimes in training camp, which training camp is not the regular season, I know that, and you could throw 100 interceptions every day in training camp and come out and be an MVP in the regular season, or vice versa, you know. But I think the plan, and they're not shy about this, is for JJ to sit as long as humanly possible. So that's kind of what I'm predicting. But yeah, I'm excited for the season no matter what.
All right, week 7.
All right, week 7. I think you're up for the coin.
Coin? All right.
All right, so the Vikings are going to host the Lions, and the coin says...
It's a win.
No way. All right.
It is a win.
That
what do you
is
got?
Wild. Okay, so I think this Lions game is going to be a win.
Okay.
My wife, who did 3 seconds of research, said that the Vikings are going to lose. And...
Ooh.
My kids, this is one that my oldest really thought they were going to lose, but I think the ice cream prevailed. We're also, as a family, going to be attending this game. So,
you're going to the Lions game?
This is the one we're going to.
You didn't tell me that.
I told you the tickets were on sale, and I was looking, but I pulled the trigger. I went for it.
Yeah.
So
that's exciting.
Yeah. So the kids did say they were going to win.
Okay. I have the Vikings winning this game, and this is one of my locks. This is a lock to win.
Okay. All right.
I think they come out after the bye week, and again, quarterback change.
Sure.
I think that kind of rejuvenates lackluster effort through 5 games, and we see a win.
There you go.
So there you go. My wife has this as a loss. And my kids have the Vikings winning this game.
Nice. Okay.
So there you go.
All right. The wives do not like the team this week. Week 7, at least.
No, they don't.
All right. The Vikings go to LA to play the Rams in week 8. And the coin says they're going to win. This you couldn't have
it's rigged.
8 straight heads in a row. What are the chances of that?
We got to get a
that's
tails
insane.
at some point.
Yeah. All right. I said they're going to go to LA and win.
Oh, okay.
My wife said they'd lose, and my kids said they would win.
All right. I have this as a loss at LA. Again, LA, pretty decent team.
Mm-hmm.
This is a Thursday night game after a divisional game at home.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the Vikings just don't travel well to the West Coast. That's just historically been the case.
It's difficult to do.
I think loss. My wife has this as a loss. And my kids also have this as a loss.
Well, I hope your family is all wrong that week.
And your wife.
Yeah, well, she's never wrong. She also never listens. So.
She'll never listen,
Yeah.
so it's perfect. All right. Week 9, we have the Colts at home. That's just... Okay, we're back. We had some slight technical difficulties there. We had a quarter go into the beer. We can't figure out if it was heads or tails, so we ended up getting a different quarter.
Yeah.
And you're going to be in charge of flipping the quarter on this one.
All right.
And I might get my quarter flipping responsibilities back.
Yeah, we might have to have some practice ones off camera or something.
We'll see. We'll see.
But now the pressure's on me. So.
Week 9, the Colts are at US Bank Stadium playing the Vikings.
I'm going to dedicate this coin flip to Brian because it's the Colts game. Our friend Brian is a Colts fan. So you think he'll come watch that game with us?
I don't know.
The last time he came to watch a Colts-Vikings game...
If he comes and the Vikings are losing, he has to leave.
100%.
If he comes and the Vikings are winning, he's not allowed to leave.
We could probably figure that out. Anyways, let's see what this quarter says. Hopefully, I don't put it in my beer. So, yeah, there you go. All right. This is a heads.
Wow.
The coin...
The coin has spoken.
The coin has spoken. All right.
8-0.
Oh, man. All right. Trying to reset after that one. That's my new favorite Skol Hop moment. All right, week 9, I said the Vikings would lose to the Colts.
Okay.
My wife said they would win, and the children said that they would lose.
Boo. You said they would lose, too.
Yeah.
I think this is a win. I don't think the Colts are that strong.
Okay.
I'm missing some of your commentary here. I want to know, your thoughts on the games.
Yeah, I just took it as Richardson's got another year under his belt. Yeah, he was injured last year. The Colts are going to be a tough team to beat.
Okay.
So
I don't disagree with you.
Mm-hmm.
This might be a really close game for the Vikings, but I think they come out with a win. My wife thinks this is a loss.
Okay.
And my kids think this is a win.
Nice. Okay, so the exact opposite.
Yep. All right. Do you trust me enough to flip?
Not yet.
Okay. Week 10. So this is the beginning of a 3-week road trip, which I think is kind of rare in today's NFL. I don't remember a team having a 3-game road trip followed by, interestingly enough, a 3-game homestand. So the Vikings kind of... I don't know if they lucked out or if they unlucked out.
Yeah.
But they have week 10, 11, 12 all on the road, and week 13, 14, 15 all at US Bank.
Yeah. The closest they came last year was, remember, because they kind of bounced back and forth.
Last year it was just home away.
They did have a 2-game road trip followed by a 2-game homestand at the end of the season. So... this year, you don't normally see 3 games away. But let's see what the coin says for Week 10 against the Jaguars.
You've been very conservative with your coin flip.
All right, that also says a heads. So we can't really tell. We will probably be able to tell what the beer coin says.
Once I get down to the bottom of it, we definitely will. And we may have to adjust, because that was the Week 7 against the Lions.
That is true,
flip.
yeah.
So.
Yeah, we almost shouldn't have... Oh, well. Anyways, I said the Vikings would win against the Lions, coming off of what I predicted a loss against the Colts. Okay. Not the Lions, the Jaguars. My wife said they would lose, and my kids said they would lose.
Yes, so this is Week 10 at Jacksonville.
Yep.
I've got this as a loss as well. I feel like Jacksonville's a pretty good team, and I think the Vikings, when they enter into this 3-game road stretch, they're going to be in their heads a little bit, and I think they're going to drop at least 2 of the 3 games on the road. That's my prediction.
Yeah, well, so far, I mean, up until that game, you have the Vikings only winning 4 games.
Yeah, which I think is realistic.
5, so that'll be where the rubber meets the road. If that's the case, and they haven't made a quarterback switch, and there's any doubts in Darnold at all at 4-5 or 5-4, anytime you're kind of not on top, you're gonna start hearing people clamor for some changes. So yeah, that'll be a pivotal point in the season.
Yeah, my wife has this as a win.
Okay.
And my kids have this as a win.
Nice. Okay.
So there you go. Week 11 at the Titans.
All right.
Week 2 of the road trip. Do you trust me enough now?
I mean, I don't know, but I can't trust you until I trust you. So
I'm gonna go over here, and we'll go low. We won't go high. Oof. It's tails.
Oh man. Well, at least now we know the coin is human. Except it's not. It's a coin. But maybe I don't trust you yet. So, all right. You said that, well, the coin said that they would lose. I put T there. I don't know why.
Tails.
Against the Titans. I said they would lose. My wife said they would win. I said they'd lose because I think some of these games you're really going to start seeing the young portion of this team really show how young it is. So, I mean, second away game of that home or the away stretch there, I think it's going to start weighing on them. I think that's a loss. And my kids said that they would win. They'd beat the Titans.
All right. There you go. So I have this as a loss as well. Like I said a minute ago, I think 2 of these 3 road games are losses for the Vikings. Mm-hmm. There's just a lot of question marks, and you said it, you alluded to it a little bit ago. Quarterback questions. This could be a chance where whoever is under center gets to prove themselves, even if the Vikings don't win the game. Mm-hmm. It's a chance to, did you throw an untimely pick, or did you actually protect the ball? Mm-hmm. Did you make good reads and make good passes, or did you throw a bunch of incompletions, right?
Yep.
Did you read the defense well? Did you call the right audible at the line? This is where, and you said it again, the rubber meets the road. This will be a proving ground for them. I still think they lose at Tennessee in Week 11.
Yep.
My wife has this as a loss, and my kids have this as a win.
Okay. Something I didn't note or even really think about until now is the Titans are a younger team as far as their progression with their coach and all of their coaching staff than the Vikings are. It's a whole new coaching staff for them. Their quarterbacks are young. I don't think Tannehill's there anymore. I think it's Will Levis at this point. Mm-hmm. He's this will be his 3rd year in the league, and he hasn't been a Pro Bowler yet. It's not like he should have been, but yeah, they're just a young team. So it wouldn't be crazy to think this would be a win, but I think at this point you can't win them all. So this is a loss for the Vikings. All right, Week 12, the last away game of this stretch here in Chicago against the Bears. The coin says they're going to lose against the Bears.
So the coin is starting to really show its colors here.
Yeah.
This happened last year too.
Yep, it did take a turn.
Went on a hot streak with the coin, and then all of a sudden, boom, we got hit with some losses.
Yep.
All right, what do you got?
So I thought that they would go into Chicago and beat the Bears.
Okay.
My wife said a win as well, and my kids said a win as well. I think I'm not ever really going to be a believer in Caleb Williams until he makes us believe in him. I definitely don't believe in the Bears coaching staff. I think they've already shown who they are. I think this could be a fireable year for coaches, although that rookie quarterback buys you a little bit of time. Yeah, I think this will be a changing point for the Bears to do just another turnover. So I don't think they're going to be very good. So that's why I said win against the Vikings, or win in Chicago.
Yeah, I've got this as a win as well. I think of the 3 teams, the Bears are the weakest in that road stretch. Mm-hmm. So I think the Vikings have the best chances of beating the Bears. And the Vikings have been pretty successful in Chicago as of late. We've witnessed a game there. That was a win. It didn't really matter. But
yeah, the season was already done. It was just the last game of the year, and the Bears were competing for the first overall pick in that game, but still.
But I agree with you too. I think the Bears are let me put it this way. The Bears have a lot to prove as well, coaches and players. I also don't believe in Caleb Williams a whole lot. So it'll be interesting to see how that develops. We could be sitting here in November eating our words.
Yep.
But, yeah, I think this is a win for the Vikings. I'm not super concerned about it at this point. So, all right. You're going to let me flip again?
Yes, I think you can try it since I've lost a game with the coin flip too.
I forgot to finish this out. My wife thinks they win.
Okay.
At Chicago, and my kids think they lose.
Okay.
At Chicago.
So your kids are the only ones that week that think your kids in the coin.
Okay. Week 13. I will flip here. And hopefully not put it in
If you get
beer.
another coin in your beer, we almost have to scrap the whole episode. I won't be good. I won't make it.
This is the beginning of a 3-game road stand, home stand. Sorry, I misspoke. Home stand, Cardinals, week 13 at home. Oh, it almost fell out of my hand.
No.
It's heads.
Nice. Okay.
It's heads.
Coin
It's a
said
win.
they would win. I think I disagree with the coin. I think the Cardinals, they're going to will themselves to some wins. They won't be good. I also don't believe in Kyler Murray. They won't be good, but they're going to will themselves to some wins. I mean, Marvin Harrison Jr. is just talented enough. He's good for a few wins on his own. So, I think they're going to lose against the Cardinals. My wife said that they would win, and my kids said that they would win.
All right. I've got this as a win. I think this home stretch is where the Vikings really find themselves, and they're really not playing any crazy good teams here in this 3-game home stretch. So you've got the Cardinals, the Falcons, and the Bears.
Yep.
So it's not like you've got the Niners or the Chiefs or, these perennial powerhouses coming in. One or two of these teams might surprise people in the league. It always happens every year. There's always kind of a dark horse. But at this point, before anything really happens, I just don't see the Vikings really struggling in this homestand.
Yep.
I've got my wife with a win here against the Cardinals, and I've got my kids with a loss.
All right. Kids are on a 2-game losing streak so far.
Yeah. All right, you're flipping for week 14. This is the Falcons at home.
This will be a circle on the calendar game.
This is the Kirk Cousins reunion game.
Assuming he's on the field, which, I mean, he will be. He's only had one injury to knock him out of the season in his whole career. He's the juggernaut about that. So he'll be there. He'll be starting, and the coin says the Vikings are going to beat Kirk Cousins.
All right.
So
thanks, coin.
Yeah.
What do you say?
I say that this is going to be a lock of a win. This is my lock to win. I don't think the Vikings are going to let Kirk Cousins leave that stadium with a win that day. I think they're going to just sell out and maybe even get penalized. They're gonna do everything they can to make sure, within the rules, Kirk Cousins does not win that game. So
yeah, let's not have another bounty gate type of situation here. But the Vikings on the opposite end of that would be not good.
I will say this: if the Falcons win that game, it will not be because Kirk Cousins had 400 yards passing and 5 passing touchdowns. It will be somehow they ran the ball all over the field. So, yep, that's my lock to win. My wife said they would win, and my kids said that they would lose.
Your kids are party poopers.
Yep.
I have this as a win as well. Like I said a minute ago, I think the Vikings find themselves here, and like you said, I don't think they let Kirk Cousins come in and walk all over him. I think this is the Vikings game for sure, so it's a win for me. My wife thinks they lose this game.
Man, come on.
And my kids think they win.
All right.
The picks are in, and I'm getting pretty close to figuring out if this was heads or tails.
Which one was it? Was it the Rams game?
It's looking like tails. No, it was the Lions, week 7.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, until you figure that one out for sure, we got to flip for
Almost there. Hang on.
Week 15 game. Oh, you're going to figure it out for sure. What's the coin say? Are we going to have to go back? That's a tails.
That's tails.
Yep.
I'm going to try to get this out, too.
Which game was that on, though?
That was the Lions game.
Was it Lions?
Week 7.
Okay.
Yeah, Week 7 Lions.
All right.
We have to change that to a loss.
Yep. All right.
Got to go with the coin. Stay true to it.
We do. We will be retiring the beer-soaked coin. That thing's too drunk to perform right now. But I think, is it your turn?
I've been doing the odds, so yes, it is my turn.
Okay.
We better wait to pour the second beer until...
All right, so
here.
Week 15 against the Bears, hosting the Bears. The coin says...
Man, I dropped it.
Oof,
It's
Evan.
a tails.
All right, the coin fell to the ground. Evan was a wide receiver in middle school.
No, I wasn't. I was a safety.
Oh, well, you're showing why. So the coin said that the Vikings would lose against the Bears at home. And I disagree with them. I said that it would be a win for the Vikings. Again, for the same reasons I said earlier, I don't believe in the Bears. If Caleb Williams is going to be good, it won't be this year. And whenever you play fantasy football and try to just add a bunch of big names, doesn't usually work out. So, yeah, I don't think the Bears are going to be it this year. My wife said that the Vikings would win, and my kids said that the Vikings would win as well. So that's how that's going for my household. It's a clean sweep.
All right. I've got the Vikings winning this as well. This is a Monday night game, by the way. The only Monday night game on the schedule.
JJ's going to shine under the lights.
I think he'll be under center.
He could be.
I do think that. My wife has this as a win for the Vikings. And my kids also have this as a win for the Vikings.
All right. I think so. My kids are the only ones that said that they would lose.
Yeah. All right. You're flipping for week 16 now. Flipping the coin. This is at Seattle, week 16.
The coin says the Vikings are going to go to Seattle and win.
All right. What do you have?
Let's see. Hold on. I just messed with some stuff. Do we want to do a quick check to make sure I didn't ruin anything?
No, we're good.
All
Everything
right.
looks great.
Sweet. Okay. That would just be our luck this episode for me to not record your audio for the second half.
The coin has been less lucky, and
it's
aside from the coin, I think we're doing pretty well. We're good.
All right. So I said that the Vikings would beat the Seahawks. I mean, you could argue either way. The Vikings and the Seahawks are going to be in similar situations.
Yep.
They're a little bit more experienced at the moment with their quarterback situation, but it's not like, is Geno Smith still the quarterback out there? I think he is.
Last I heard,
Because they traded for Drew Lock. Or they traded for Drew Lock in the Russell Wilson trade, so he's been there for a little while. Who did they trade for? Sam Howell. There you go. That's who they traded for. So, yeah, I mean... Yeah, I just they have a new coach as well. It's hard to argue that a team with an inexperienced coach is going to come in and beat the Vikings, although this is in Seattle. So yeah, either way, I say it's a win. It's not like the Vikings are going to blow them out. My wife said that they would lose, and my kids also said that they would lose.
All right. So I have this as a loss as well.
Okay.
Again, West Coast.
Oh, that's true.
And it's an afternoon. It's not like a Sunday noon game. It's a Sunday 3:00 game. And I don't know. I don't have stats to back that up. I just feel like the Vikings struggle in those situations, especially on the West Coast. So I'm going to go with the loss there, unfortunately. My wife has this as a loss. And my kids have this as a win.
Nice. Okay.
So there you go. All right, 2 more games to go. We've got the Packers at home in week 17.
Yep, and this one's you.
Let's flip of the coin.
Oh my goodness.
It is tails again,
All
though.
right.
I'll pick it up
Okay.
with my toes.
All right, so I said that the Vikings would host the Green Bay Packers and lose. Okay. So, I mean, yeah, I think it's going to be a hard-fought NFC North game. The Vikings are they're going to lose some gas there. They're not going to beat that team that day. So my wife, she said it's going to be a win.
Smart lady.
And my kids, who know better than to go against the Vikings against the Packers, they said it would be a win as well.
I've got this as a win. I think, honestly, the Vikings and the Packers could be really struggling for that second place spot, both of them. I think the Lions will win the division like they did last year. I think there hasn't been too much turnover there. They haven't lost a lot of guys, and the key pieces are still there. They've got a great coach. Dan Campbell is, I think, the best coach for that team, honestly. He's been kind of fun to watch.
They have a really expensive, slightly unproven quarterback.
Yeah, but he held his own last year, I think.
Once the run game figured it out, his job was a lot easier.
Yeah. So. But, yeah, anyways, I think the Vikings win against the Packers here. And this is a bloodbath. I think this is a tough game because both of these teams are trying to make the playoffs at the end of the season. And don't forget, the Packers didn't really enter the playoff conversation until late in the season, and the Vikings were kind of in the conversation until they weren't.
Yeah, they didn't flatline until they ultimately did, but yeah.
So my wife has this as a win, and my kids have this as a loss.
Man.
My kids have the Vikings getting swept by the Packers.
Your kids are just trolling you at this point.
Yep, that happens.
All right, I forget whose turn it is.
You're
I think
flipping.
it's your
No,
okay.
you're flipping.
Yeah, you dropped it. Okay, so last game, Week 18, going to Detroit against the Lions. Isn't that how the Vikings ended the year last year, or was it a home game?
Yeah, they ended Week 16 and 18 were against the Lions.
Yep.
One was at home, one was away. I can't remember which was which.
All right, well, the coin says the Vikings are going to win. They're going to beat the Lions in Detroit.
Okay.
I agree with the coin. I say it'll be a win. My wife says it's a loss. And my kids say it's a win.
There you go.
If you're keeping track, I said the Vikings would have an 11-6 record. I truly believe that, and I almost don't think it matters who the quarterback is. I think between the coach and the rest of the team, they're good enough. The only heel is going to be that cornerback position. I think that could be the one thing that really screws the team over. We saw Kevin O'Connell, translate plays into the headset of Josh Dobbs and figure out a way to win a game. So I don't think it really matters who the quarterback is. My wife said a 10-7 season, and my kids agreed with me on an 11-6 season.
There you go. All right. So I think this is a loss.
Okay.
For the Vikings. Oh. I think they finish 9-8. And I think they miss the playoffs, quite honestly.
Okay.
I don't think they end up making the playoffs at 9-8. Not even a wild card.
I think with 17 games now, especially in a division that has 1 to 2 other good teams, you'd be hard pressed to make the playoffs with a 9-8 record. So yeah.
Yep, I'm thinking 9-8. Let's go down the line here and just cover the rest of our bases here. My wife thinks they lose. She thinks the Vikings finish 8-9, but she thinks they make the playoffs.
Oh, okay.
And win a game. They win a wild card game.
Well, that goes in the face of everything I just said. But we've seen losing teams make the playoffs before.
Yeah. So she thinks they win in the wild card and then they lose.
Okay.
So I'm going to record that just for the sake of recording that. She could be right. You never know.
I did not, and I did not ask my family either to go through if they made the playoffs, how far they go. So I don't know if you did that all the way through, but
backtracking a little bit for my prediction for the last game of the season at the Lions, that's my lock to lose.
Okay.
I think the Vikings could enter that game as, we could make the playoffs. And then they just kind of fall asleep.
That would be the most Vikings thing ever.
Yep. So they beat the Packers week 17. Everything's looking up. They're 8-8, and they're like, or no, they're not 8-8. They're 9-7. They're 9-7. They could make the playoffs at 10-7, and they go to Detroit, and it just doesn't happen. So that's my lock to lose.
All right. I mean,
there you go.
Yeah.
And then my kids, to finish this out, my kids think the Vikings win at Detroit to finish out the season. My kids have the Vikings finishing 10-7.
Okay.
This is the interesting part, though. My kids think the Vikings make the playoffs. They go to the Super Bowl.
Okay.
And they win.
Oh, all right. Well, I like your kids now.
So, there you go.
All right.
Even though they got swept by the Packers in the regular season.
You know what? If the season ends on a Super Bowl win, I don't really care what happens in the regular season, because that's all that matters is Super Bowls. Not even just wins and losses. Super Bowl wins and losses.
That's right. And an 11-win team has won a Super Bowl before.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So...
All right, so if you remember last year, we kind of continued it on. I think the coin at the end of the regular season last year had the Vikings at 12-5, and we did decide theoretically that's good enough to make the playoffs. Coincidentally, coincidentally, the Vikings, according to the coin this year, will have a 12-5 record, and that's even true with the beer coin.
Yep.
So. Do you
13-4 without the beer coin.
That's true. So do you think a 12-5 record, one, does it make the playoffs? Two, is it good enough for the 1 seed?
1, yes, they make the playoffs. 2, no, I don't. I think there are stronger teams in the NFC that will have a better record, 13, 14 wins. They will get the 1 seed, probably San Francisco, maybe Green Bay. I don't know.
Yeah. That's the thing I was going to say. You could argue
Detroit.
You could argue with a 12-5 record in the NFC North, which should be good this coming year. You could argue that that's not even a division winning record. So
no, I don't think so.
I would tend to agree with you. I don't know what seed they would get with a 12-5 record, but I don't think that'd be good enough.
I think they're playing wild card weekend.
Yeah.
So flip it. Let's see what they get.
All right. The coin says
wild card weekend.
Playoffs, wild card weekend. Oh, the coin says they lose in wild card weekend. Which, if you remember last year, the coin had the Vikings getting all the way to the NFC Championship game and then losing that game. So, not as good.
Not great, but that's okay. What about you? Do you think they make the playoffs with your 11-6 record?
I think you're definitely fighting for one of those wild card games, wild card spots. I think the Packers or the Lions are going to win the division. But yeah, you never know. So I think they're going to be, that 6th or 7th seed if they do make the playoffs with an 11-6 record. I would say, just for the fun of it, yeah, I think they'd make it with that record.
Do they win or lose in the wild card round?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, this team has beaten me down so much. I wouldn't even be comfortable enough saying anything predictions for the playoffs, because you never know. Like when Sam Bradford went down, I think we all would have said, "Oh, season's lost." Maybe next year. But then Case Keenum brought them to the NFC Championship game, and they haven't been there since. So, yeah, I don't know. I think it'll be a fun year just because it's the rookie year for JJ. We've got some bright spots in the future. This isn't like they just sold out the future and are trying to win the Super Bowl this year or bust. So I think they're set up to potentially be good in the future if the players develop the way that Kwesi thinks they will. So I'm comfortable enough saying they could compete and potentially could get a playoff spot this year.
There you go.
What do you think?
Well,
I already said. Yeah,
I think they missed the playoffs, but narrowly. I think it's close. I think they enter week 18, their 17th game, but week 18 with a chance, with some hope, and then they just kind of surrender to the Lions, unfortunately. And I think the Lions, at that point in week 18, have already secured the division. I don't
potentially.
I don't think they come into that game trying to win the division. I think they come into that game just kind of like the Vikings did against the Bears a few years ago when we were in Chicago. They're just, like, all right, let's try to win this and see if we can end the season on a high note, and we'll rest starters after the first quarter or two, and we'll ride off into the sunset and see what happens. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. But I definitely like my kid's prediction, winning the Super Bowl.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'll take that in a year.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. Yeah, I hope it's a good, fun season. I think I'd rather like a 4-win season than something you predicted, because
then you get the draft pick.
And the draft pick, and then you can just focus like, okay, development. Let's see how good is JJ going to be. I say I'd rather a 4-win season. I'd rather an undefeated season and a Super Bowl win, but like, you just, for the future, I'm glad the Vikings are where they are. I said it earlier. I really think they're like a year behind what we've seen with the Texans so far, who have a phenomenal young second-year quarterback, a good cornerstone on the defense with the 3rd overall pick from last year, a young coach that seems to have figured some things out. I think the Vikings are following that line, and that excites me.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I guess, of course, we're just a couple of dudes from Iowa. We like drinking beer and putting our hot takes out there, and that's just kind of how things are here on the Skol Hop. But the proof will be in the pudding, and we'll see what happens in the regular season.
Yeah.
So
I've asked you this question before, probably a few times on this show. Do you genuinely think, what would you say is more likely to happen? JJ sits out the whole season, or he wins the job in training camp? Either or. There is no like, well, I think he gets in like week 6. Either of those options, what do you think is more likely?
I think the way things are trending right now, and just what I've seen and heard from the media, I think there's a fairly decent chance that he wins the job.
It's not a 0% chance by any means.
And we just finished talking about the Texans, who started CJ Stroud. I think for all of their games last year, correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, it's a proven model that you can get a rookie quarterback in the mix, get him acclimated without sitting him and benching him. I think there's a flaw in the Packers model of sit him until they've had a chance to develop. And honestly, like, and you kind of alluded to it earlier with the Jordan Love contract, like that could not be the smartest thing for the Packers.
I hope they crash and burn. They're more likely that he's probably going to end up being good. He's the 34th best player according to the NFL Top 100 for this year, but
the NFL Top 100 doesn't mean a whole lot.
Yeah.
In my book, anyways. I mean, it's just a preseason like, oh yeah, these players really showed a lot of promise last year, you know. So I don't know what Kirk Cousins was like 98th or something.
Oh, I didn't even notice.
I was. That's way off. I'm not right on that at all. But Harrison Smith was on the list. Obviously, Justin Jefferson was on the list. I think those might have been the only Vikings to make the NFL Top 100.
Yeah.
But
you mean the Pasternaut didn't make it?
He's not even a Viking anymore, is he?
No, he's a 49er.
Yeah. So, anyways, all of that to say, I think, I don't know. I like the Vikings. I don't think they make the playoffs. I don't think they're good enough to make the playoffs this year, unfortunately. And that might be a really tough spot for the Vikings to be in, to be just good enough to be kind of in the mix, but not good enough to get the draft pick and not good enough to like focus on development and all of that. But I don't know. I think the Vikings will find ways to be competitive. I don't think Kevin O'Connell is the type of coach to just kind of throw in the towel on the season.
Oh, never, yeah.
And just go, well, we're not going to win 7 games this year, so let's just, whatever. I don't think he's that kind of coach. I think he's going to fight and claw and scratch his way to, I think, 9 wins. And that's not going to be good enough to make the playoffs, unfortunately. And that's going to push them down in the draft order, unfortunately. But that's just kind of where I'm at. And I'll stand pat with my JJ McCarthy. I think we see him sooner rather than later. Yeah. That's my prediction. And you're on the other side of that coin, I think.
Yeah, I think, I'm of the mindset of pro development for him. So, but I will say this team is set up with, they're not the Lions of old where they're just a garbage team all around and they're not going to win and they need, all of the pieces, not just a quarterback. I mean, the Vikings have some solid pieces. Yeah, there's problems on the roster here and there, but we could sit here and name a few players that are just perennial Pro Bowlers and players that we're really excited about, even down to like Ivan Pace Jr., who was an undrafted guy, and he's a starter and like a really good one too now. So I think because of that, the rest of the roster, how it's not garbage, it's actually a pretty decent roster so far. I think if JJ starts week 1, that's very telling, because there's not a lot of pressure right now to make sure he starts. So like when Sam Bradford was, Matt Stafford, when he was drafted number 1 overall, like you knew the second they said his name that he was going to start week 1 his rookie year for the Lions, because they needed it. Like the Vikings don't need JJ to be the savior. They need him to be good. Every quarterback needs to be good. But if he wins the job and starts week 1, then I think we can be pretty confident in knowing this isn't a desperation move. He won the job. And say what you want about Sam Darnold, like if he's pretty good too. So if JJ wins the job, we got to be happy about it, because we know he's the better quarterback. So I think that's something to be excited about if he starts week 1.
And I think too, most of the holes right now, as they exist kind of going into kind of early part of training camp before any preseason or anything, the holes on the team exist on the defensive side of the ball. I think the offense is pretty stout. I think you've got a good offensive line. You're returning pretty much all of your starters, slash even some of your backup guys from last year. So like you've got depth on the offensive line. You have arguably the league's best tandem at wide receiver. As
a really good tandem, for sure.
As long as Jordan Addison can stay out of trouble from here on out, and Justin Jefferson can stay healthy, you've got a really good duo there. When TJ Hawkinson comes back, you've got one of the league's best tight ends in the mix.
I guess TJ was running sprints today at camp too.
That's encouraging.
So I guess he's looking good. I still expect him to be on the PUP list. He's a guy, slow roll him, let him heal up all the way.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, you've got the weapons, and now Aaron Jones in the backfield. You've got Ty Chandler coming back for another year. I don't know. I think there's a lot to like about the Vikings offense. It's just filling those gaps in the defensive backfield, really, and that defensive tackle position. The Vikings really haven't done anything at that position. You got your edge guys, you got your linebackers. Now you just got to fill out the rest of your defensive backfield, and you got to plug the middle with the tackle position. Then I think they're set.
Yeah, I agree. They're going to be good. Barring injury and barring some crazy Vikings plays to happen, they're going to be good. I'm excited.
Do you think they're like a Pittsburgh Steelers kind of like, because under Tomlin, the Steelers have just been consistently good. They've not been great all the time, but they've been good, and they've never had a losing record under Mike Tomlin.
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
So I could see that out of the Vikings this year. And again, 9-8. That's a very Steeler-esque type of rating
on their quote unquote down years. Yeah.
So
yeah, maybe
we'll see.
Either way, I think everybody has some reasons to be excited about the team this year, even if you don't think they're going to win a lot of games. We're going to have a lot of fun. It'll be a lot of fun, and this is just the first step in the journey of this team. I think we have fully gone out of the era of the Zimmer era and the Cousins and Dalvin Cooks, and they were great, and I loved that they were Vikings, but now the team has fully transitioned. This is now fully Kwesi's team, fully KOC's team, and we're on the first steps, so let's see where they can go.
Yeah, I like it. I'm excited. I can't wait for the games to start.
And we're not too far off. Preseason's like 2 weeks away.
Yeah. It's coming up, which stinks for me because I'm a teacher, and that means I have to go back to work.
But I have to go back to work in like less than 12 hours. So,
well, that's your own fault. You could have been a teacher like me.
That's what my wife tells me all the time. So,
all right, what did you think of the beer?
The beer's good. I mean, it was good enough. It attracts quarters, I guess.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No, that was hilarious. Like I said, one of my favorite Skol Hop moments was when that quarter fell in.
Still a little wet.
Yep.
A little sticky. Yeah. But we'll memorialize this one.
Yeah, the beer was good. I really think they knew what they were doing when they were making a beer to be drank around a cycling event, an athletic event. So Yeah, I like it a lot. I'm probably not going to be cycling, but I will be drinking the beer, and I'm glad that I think we have a little bit more too. So
Mine definitely had a little bit of a metallic taste there at the end.
yeah, you changed the cosmetics, the makeup of your beer there a little bit.
But it was still good.
Yeah.
I liked it, and I would definitely drink more for sure.
All right, well, this was a good episode.
This was fun. Yeah.
I don't know about best one yet because 50 was really good.
50 was great. Yeah, we didn't even really talk about that, but man, if you're still listening, an hour plus into this episode, and you didn't watch episode 50, you do yourself a favor, go back and watch episode 50, especially if you're a beer drinker, because we went to 11 breweries in 2 days.
Yeah, and we visited a brewery 12 times because we went to one of them twice.
That's true.
Yeah, but we had a lot of great beer, some really good food, some good
amazing
times.
Food. Yeah, and amazing beer. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
we're gonna do it again next year.
2.0. It's happening next year.
It's happening. So maybe episode 100 or so. We'll see.
Something like that. Yeah,
we'll get it in.
And if you did watch it, let us know if we hit up your favorite brewery or if there's any breweries we didn't hit up that we absolutely should have, because we barely scratched the surface. So we hit the big ones, but there's a ton more. I mean, House Divided shows you that there's going to be a ton of cool little spots all around the state. So
yeah, and if you're looking for good beer, come to Iowa.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of it.
Yeah, we do.
And we love celebrating Iowa beer. That's just kind of one of the things we're about here on the Skol Hop.
For sure. And not the least of them, this Tailwind from Big Grove. So till the next one.
Skol.
Skol.
Hey Vikings fans, Evan here from the Skol Hop, and we just wanted to say thank you again so much for listening to the Skol Hop, and we also wanted to take one more opportunity to let you know that this episode of the Skol Hop has been brought to you by Big Top Ventures. If you're considering taking an all-inclusive trip to either Mexico or Jamaica, reach out to our friends at Big Top Ventures at bigtopventuresllc@gmail.com. Once again, that's bigtopventuresllc@gmail.com. You can get the lowest rate possible on several all-inclusive resorts throughout the region. Big Top Ventures, step right up to your next big adventure. And thanks again for listening to the Skol Hop. Skol.